All right, guys, make a quick crypto video here. I know it's been kind of a volatile week. I think I made a video last week, about a week ago. Bitcoin dumped down to like 112 or something like that. And now we're back up to 115. Everybody's freaking out as usual. I mean, guys, this is how bull markets are. It's unpredictable. If anybody could predict the exact price action for the following week, they wouldn't be on YouTube. They wouldn't be anywhere. They'd be living on some island somewhere. I've always said it with David Copperfield and all the Victoria's Secret models, because that's what people would do if they had that kind of crystal ball. But overall, everything is bullish, and we're still waiting for that Ethereum. You know, I said it the last couple of videos. People are just waiting for Ethereum to hit $4,000. It really, I mean, honestly, that is what people are doing right now. All the big funds, Tom Lee, all your influencers, everybody's just talking about it. Ethereum has to hit $4,000. Here's an article from today. Ethereum transaction volume sees year high amid SEC staking drama. Transactions on the Ethereum network have hit yearly highs as the SEC deliberates on how to classify liquid staking protocols. And we know SEC is probably going to come out bullish for staking on Ethereum. This comes amid historic highs as the Ethereum network, according to Dune Analytics, over 36 million Ether is now staked on Ethereum, blah, 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 blah. And we know Tom Lee's fund is, I think Tom Lee is like his fund's like one of the biggest holders now on Ethereum. I'm not a big fan of Ethereum. I kind of thought it was dead, but if we're looking for an alt season, we have to be following Ethereum. So basically, every day I get up in the morning and the first thing I look at on CoinMarketCap is not even Bitcoin anymore. It's Ethereum. Because when Ethereum goes into price discovery mode, past $4,000, it's going to be basically green light to go into full-blown alt season. And that's kind of what we're waiting for right now. What else did I want to talk about? Here's Tom Lee on talking a little bit about the Fed and what's going on, and well, let's listen.
Setback in August is not always a great month. You think we get a little bit of choppiness here? Are you still bullish?
Well, last week was definitely consolidation because we had 5 days where the market opened higher and closed lower.
Really?
And they call that bearish engulfing. It makes sense because we're consolidating that 28% gain from the April lows. And on the job stuff, I think it's just the data's catching up to what we already know. The labor market's been soft, right? So it's, I think, a positive setup because now the Fed has more ammunition to make a dovish pivot in the fall. And it's not too late because we know the thing that they're going to stimulate is the housing market. And you had a couple guests earlier talking about that. And so that is what strengthens the economy in 2026. So I think it's quite a positive setup. We're just consolidating and then we make a bigger move higher.
Is it fair to say that since it's a dual mandate, that maybe the Fed should have been able to think that there was more risk to a slowdown than to inflation? Do you think they missed that a little bit and they're fighting? I don't know, but Trump said you got to cut, so they couldn't. Maybe they had to err that way just for political reasons.
Yeah, I think the Fed needs to demonstrate independence, but you're right. I think when they look at their dual mandate, they're probably drifting further from the employment metric now because the unemployment rate, if you use the existing participation rate before this report, it's almost 5% now. So the Fed now has to be considering the risk of jobs market actually going into a cycle of weakening.
Right, but you have also...
Anyway, yeah, as you guys know, this was actually what caused the Bitcoin dump. We were very, very bullish last week. Job numbers came out. They were lower than expected. And then a revised number came out from the month before that basically made it so the previous month's jobs numbers were also lower. And of course, Trump freaked out over that. He fired the person who puts out those records. But you guys know I'm a big Trump supporter, but I can tell you guys, the job market is not that good. I run a little detective agency here in Maryland, security company. I'm always looking on Indeed for like side jobs and stuff like that. I always would get people reaching out to me on LinkedIn for side jobs. I wouldn't even have to like even call people. I would just get calls like, hey, are you available for this? Are you available for that? I haven't gotten anything like that over the last year. So I went on Indeed just for the hell of it. a couple of days ago, and it's like not good. It's not good. I mean, the amount of jobs you're seeing right now in the corporate security field, background investigator field, it's the lowest I personally have ever seen it in the last maybe 10 years since I've actually been paying attention. So the job economy isn't good. You can watch the TikTok videos of all the 20-something, 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds coming out of college. They can't find a job at all. And there's also a lot of layoffs. So we're definitely going to be going into a recession. I think it's going to be next year. And I think the Fed is going to be forced. I think right now we're definitely going to be getting a cut, probably a lot of cuts. And also, we got the housing market, which is kind of a disaster. A lot of people are predicting a housing market crash. So I think the Fed is going to have to step in. I wouldn't even be surprised if we go into a little like the recession is kind of coming and Trump tries to put out a little stimulus and they just start printing money. I think the money printers are going to start. I can feel it. I can see it. It has nothing to do with Trump. These things come in cycles. Every 10, 15 years, we get a big housing crash. We get a big job market crash. The stock market crashes. We're due for that right now. And that's why I think it's going to be overall bullish for crypto as the Fed comes in, cuts rates, they start printing money. And like I said, Trump has already even hinted about a stimulus for all these tariffs that are coming in. So I'm more bullish than ever. But the Fed, Trump calls Powell too late, Powell. He 100% is. The whole reason Powell hasn't been cutting rates, it's 100% political. Powell cut rates right before the elections for Biden for no apparent reason, and now he won't do it for Trump. So, it really is sick that everything's become political, but that's exactly what's going on. But if you want to follow one guy, follow Tom Lee. He's always right. I think we're going to be bullish the next 3 to 6 months. I do think 2026 is going to be an absolute shit show for crypto and Bitcoin, and probably the housing market as well. So we'll see what happens. Is there anything else I want to talk about? I already talked about Ethereum transactions at all-time high, which is what you want to see because that's the main altcoin we're thinking of. Here's the article. $4,000 Ethereum's last hurdle before price discovery, says Galaxy Digital's Mike Novogratz. And that's kind of what we've been talking about forever. What happens when Ethereum hits $4,000 is all these people who are waiting for an Ethereum dump, they don't believe in Ethereum. They kind of think it's pretty much done. They're all going to come running in. All the retail money is going to be coming in at $4,000 because, as you can already see, they have Tom Lee on CNBC every freaking day now talking about Ethereum. So he's going to be pumping the crap out of it. And that's going to be what takes us into the alt season. We always talk about black swan events, and this is a good one. This is a good freaking black swan event. You guys know I'm big into UFOs and stuff like that. Well, apparently there's some object. They think it might be a meteor, but it's called 3L Atlas. And it doesn't look like a meteor to some people. And they're thinking that in October, they're going to be able to tell if it's a meteor. But if it's not a meteor, it's probably some sort of alien spacecraft that's heading towards Earth. I know this sounds weird, but if you're looking for a black swan event that could crash the markets, woo! Let's hope we're out of these markets by October 26th. Here's an article. I'm going to play a video. Mysterious interstellar object aiming at Earth, not natural, as scientists rule out comet theory. The appearance of a mysterious interstellar object has reignited debate over whether extraterrestrial technology could be hiding in our solar system. Here's a quick video I want to play.
Atlas was strange in my mind the minute I heard about it, because it was discovered at a distance of 4.5 times the Earth-Sun separation, and yet it was discovered with a telescope that is only 0.5 meter in diameter. And the reason is because it was relatively bright. If it was a solid object, then it should have been 20 kilometers in diameter, bigger than Manhattan Island, twice as large as the rock that killed the dinosaurs, right, 66 million years ago. So it's a giant object. Now, there is a problem with a giant object. There is just not enough material in interstellar space to make such a giant rock and send it our way every few years. I mean, this one was discovered after a few years of surveying the sky. And I suggested that the simplest solution would be if it's less than a kilometer in size, and then it's surrounded by a cloud of dust, in which case it would be a comet. The problem is we haven't detected yet the signatures of molecules of gas around it. All we saw is this object is red. The color is red. The reflected sunlight from it is red, but that could be coming from its surface. A lot of objects in the outskirts of the solar system are red. So it might well be that when it comes closer to the sun, it's making its way now towards the sun.
Right.
Then it will evaporate much more clearly, and then we would see a plume of gas and dust, and it would appear to be clearly a comet, in which case we shouldn't worry too much. But then I also noticed with two colleagues, we wrote a paper saying that its trajectory is very unusual because the trajectory is in the plane of the orbit of the Earth around the sun, and within 5 degrees. And the chance of that happening at random is 0.2%.
Wow.
So it's aligned with the orbital plane of the inner planets. It will come very close to Jupiter, Mars, and Venus. The chance of that happening, even taking the orbit and just changing the arrival time, the chance of it being so close to these planets is 1 in 20,000. It's really small. And also when it arrives closest to the sun, and by the way, mark your calendar, that would be October 29th, 2025. When it gets closest to the sun, the Earth would be on the opposite side of the sun. We wouldn't be able to observe it.
We won't see it, yeah.
We won't see it. So the question is, was that by design? Because that is the point in the trajectory when it can actually break. 3i Atlas was strange in my mind the minute I heard about it, because it was discovered at a distance of 4.5 times the Earth-Sun separation, and yet it was discovered with a telescope that is only half a meter.
Anyway, and he goes on to say, I mean, I've been listening to interviews from this guy for the last couple of weeks. Just that it's just very odd the way this object is behaving. It's going to be hiding behind the sun, so we can't see it. The size of this object is like something we've never seen. A lot of scientists think it might be a comet, but there's also a lot of scientists who think it's kind of unusual the way this is behaving. So anyway, I think like end of October, they said we'll know for sure if it's a comet. I can tell you guys, if it's not a comet and it turns out to be something else, I would fully expect a COVID type dump in the stock market. And as well, by October 29th, we hopefully were out of cryptocurrency at that point anyway. But I think it's really interesting. A lot of people aren't talking about it. Yeah, it's most likely a comet. But this guy is pretty much saying if it's a comet, it's one of the weirdest things he's ever seen. And it just doesn't make any sense. So we'll know more at the end of October. But if you're looking for a black swan event, that could be the black swan event that takes us into the next crypto bear market. And that's just one of those events that you're not going to come back from. If people think a UFO is coming towards the United States or whatever, you're going to see stocks and everything dump, and it's not going to be coming back for a while. Anyway, I know it's kind of crazy, and I'm not saying I even believe it, but it's kind of fun to think about. Other than that, guys, I mean, look, Bitcoin's back up to 115,382. You can't let these little dumps scare you out. It is what it is. I know everybody wants to be, at alt season and everything kind of flying. These markets do what they want to do. I'm overall bullish. I think August, a lot of people say August is not going to be bullish. I think August is going to be a good month. Call me crazy. Tom Lee thinks it's going to be a good month. I was listening to some other analysts who I listen to a lot. Alicio is one of those guys that I listen to. A lot of people, he said, we're looking at like a $200,000 Bitcoin. He doesn't think Bitcoin's getting much past 150. He also talked about XRP a little bit. He said he doesn't think XRP is getting past $4 or $5. I've been saying that for the last year. So I know if you guys have been following me on this channel, once XRP gets to $4, we're unloading every last penny of XRP. We're not going to have anything left. So other than that, guys, everything looking good. I'm not making a lot of videos right now because it's kind of boring. There's not much going on in the markets. It's just a lot of freaking scared people, running around saying we're going into a bear market, but we're not going into a bear market. We're not going into a bear market until at least October, November. So, if we're like in October and we're still at these prices, I'll be a little concerned, but I fully expect us to be, almost out of these markets. At some point in October, I fully expect to be pretty much almost out of these markets. By like the end of October, going into November, I expect to have sold most of my crypto, unless there's, I don't know. I mean, I take things day by day, but unless there's some reason to stay in. But as far as the 4-year cycles, we want to be up at least by the latest by the end of the year. And then, of course, this comet situation or this possible UFO coming towards Earth, I can tell you, I don't want to be holding no crypto if it turns out this thing's not a comet. And call me crazy. It might turn out not to be a comet, but it's just something else, and there might be some uncertainty as to what it is for a month or two. That's going to absolutely kill the markets. All right, other than that, guys, like and subscribe. Talk to you later.